These are 14 tips that'll help you lose weight and reduce your belly fat fast without crazy strict diets. It's important to reduce visceral fat because not only is it unattractive but it's also very unhealthy. Most people force themselves to follow a strict diet, but those rarely work. Instead, just by following some basic principles, you'll be able to burn that belly fat as you reduce your overall body fat percentage lower and lower. Our bodies are wired to store fat around our center of mass, which happens to be the belly love handles and hips. And there's a very good reason for this. Storing pounds fat on more distal areas like your hands and your feet would require a lot more energy to carry around and to do the things that we need to do on a daily basis to survive. And this defeats the whole biological purpose of storing fat to begin with, which is essentially your body trying to stock up on energy in the form of body fat in case of a future famine where there's a shortage of food, or in other words a shortage of energy. In sports like wrestling and judo, we can see that our center of mass gives us the leverage we need to carry heavy weight loads without expending a ton of energy. Your body already naturally knows this, so that's why one of the first areas to gain fat when you overeat is your belly. Unfortunately, even though your body is wired to view this as very efficient not only in the stomach area, the last spot that most people want to gain fat, but it's also very unhealthy to carry large amounts of fat around your midsection. Now, even though your body is quick to store fat around your stomach, it's very hesitant to let it go and will usually be one of the last spots that it pulls fat from. So you need to reduce your overall body fat percentage low enough for your body to burn the fat everywhere else before it starts pulling energy from the fat stored around your midsection. This is done mostly through diet, so a lot of times many people follow a strict diet which becomes more and more difficult the longer you try to stick to it. So today I want to give you guys 15 quick guidelines that you can use to start burning body fat and belly fat as soon as possible without having to torture yourself in the process. And the very first extremely effective thing that you can do is limit the number of high-sugar foods that you eat. Sugar doesn't only taste good at the moment, but it makes you crave more sugar in the future. When you habitually eat things like cookies, ice cream, and cake, you actually wind up decreasing the sensitivity of your palate, which makes natural healthy sources of sugar like fruit taste much less sweet and satisfying. There are also studies that show a direct link between having a high sugar intake and having higher levels of abdominal fat. This is due to the fact that sugar spikes insulin, which is a fat storage hormone, and it also decreases insulin sensitivity. So this doesn't mean that you can never have any sweets. You can reward yourself with something like ice cream at the end of the week, but it shouldn't be a staple part of your diet throughout the week. Instead, you should do your best to stick to fruit to satisfy your sugar cravings. Next, when you go shopping, you're going to want to stick to the outside perimeter of the grocery store and avoid the inner aisles. So this includes your produce department, seafood, meat, eggs, and some dairy. This is because the inner aisles are usually where you'll find all the processed food that ends up raising your insulin levels to increase your daily calorie count and of course contributing to the storage of belly fat. However, other than high-sugar cereals, chips, and cookies, there are some things in the inner aisles like rice, quinoa, and nuts that can actually fill up your stomach and help you reduce body fat. So when you do go into the inner aisles, you want to follow the next tip, which is to pick mostly single-ingredient foods. These are foods that have a low calorie density, which means that for the amount of space that they take up in your stomach, they only add a relatively low amount of calories to your daily total. A perfect example of this is comparing Oreos to something like broccoli. Just one Oreo will have 40 calories, mostly in the form of sugar. For the same many calories, you can fill your stomach with whole cup broccoli. Now on top of that, single ingredient foods require more calories to digest. The Oreo will quickly and easily be broken down into simple sugar without much effort. Meanwhile, the broccoli